Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Coffee was good, isn't it? Yeah, I usually hate introductions, and I usually assume that we all speak the same language because, you know, it's all innovation people or related things like that, but probably that's too much of an assumption. So maybe we need a little bit of getting to know each other a little bit. My name is Massimo Mercuri. I'm the director of the digital part for the information management side of AkzoNobel. So we support innovation and digital strategy of the company. So our job is basically to work on the digital components that will help the business do what we are going to be talking about, which is where I'm going. But first, I'd like to know a little bit from you, because I see different ages, probably different types of work, depending on how you dress in. Who sent more than 5 emails today before arriving here? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Posting, Facebook, liking. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, right. Anybody was talking to his car or her car?
No car in Amsterdam.
No car in Amsterdam. Me too.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better.
I don't have a car since 2 years ago. So it was, yeah.
Yeah,
But nobody was.
I talked to my bike.
You talked to your bike.
It's a really pretty bike.
Tell us about it.
It's so beautiful. I have to remind the bike.
Just didn't respond.
Okay. I love that. Love that. That when we talk about digital and we talk about technology and innovation and all that, it has become kind of a cliche, isn't it? And yet, every company says, okay, we need digital transformation, we need digital innovation, and then at the end we have a bunch of consultants who are telling us that you need blueprints, you need roadmaps, you need frameworks, and all that. Now, it's not always like that, right? Because, and I do have some bullets just to help myself remember what I'm talking about. When you think that we are actually talking to things nowadays, because I am dictating emails to my phone, yeah, it's super comfortable. It has taken 30 years. I mean, I was in Apple in 1992, and the project was Casper and Galatea, and that was the first attempt of Apple for having speech recognition. It still doesn't work the way they intended it, right? But, I mean, but that means that when a company says we need a digital strategy, really is already outdated, because what you need is a strategy to survive in a world that is already digital. So how do you innovate in a company that's 300 years old like AkzoNobel? Any ideas?
Skunkworks?
Skunkworks. Good one.
Start all over again.
Yeah. A very different crowd from the last time I asked this question. last time I had all kind of different things that you can imagine, but you're spot on, actually. What the leadership of AkzoNobel a couple of years ago decided is to have something on the edge of the company that would be a little bit away from the politics, from the regulations, from the policies, and all that kind of stuff that can slow down things. Because let's be realistic, corporations have the capability to kill innovation by design. It's just the way they are. Actually, have you ever heard about the CIA handbook for sabotage, for simple sabotage? It was released, yeah? It's fantastic, right? I mean, there's one item, this is instructions for citizens on how to drive the enemy crazy. Yeah, how to sabotage organizations and production facilities. So if ever happens to you that you are under an oppressor, one of the rules I remember is haggle or try to be very, very precise and very detailed about the wording you use when you say something. Is it for or with? I remember having a discussion with somebody who said, yes, but your team is not a catalyst, it's an enabler. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is that you're doing something which is complex, which is starting all over again, precisely. And this is what we have been trying to do, yeah? And there was another one that I loved, that was, oh yeah, the one that you have to apply all regulations to the last detail. And that's really, you know, you have these people in these big corporations that their job is based on the process.
Do you know?
Q&R?
That could be one, yeah, but you find them everywhere. Because at the moment you have an organization which is more than 150 people, automatically your overhead, meaning the need to control and measure and guarantee the quality, starts being bigger than the amount of people that is dedicated to the product. And that's by design. It's not because corporations are stupid. It's because when you grow and you have to scale, you need to have cheaper workload, cheaper workforce, and automatically they are less skilled. You cannot afford the Navy SEALs. You need the Army, right? So how did we overcome the typical things like you have the skepticals, the ones that have worked in the company for 30 years and they've seen it all over, because in 300 years, AkzoNobel is a company that has, for example, since 15 years ago, a manufacturing plant somewhere in the northern countries, which is completely automated. There's one fireman comes in and has to just turn a key just to assure that the factory, has the click that today it was working right. It has been working for 15 years, way before the Industry 4.0 became a cliche. So we are talking about a company like many other big companies that they have seen it all. They have tried everything. So it's not true that the big companies cannot do innovation. It's just that sometimes you need a little bit of an accelerator. The resistance is in the people who are trained to work on process instead of product. So the way to do things is more important than the outcome. And many times reputation is more important than value. Even if they talk about business cases and they talk about return on investment, but in reality what's important for them is that they look good. Because that's the way you advance, right? So as you can imagine, I'm not the type of person that makes a career inside of a corporation. I'm a guy that comes in, does something, and then leaves and does something else somewhere else, right? It's a different way of working than the people who have been working with for 20 years. What we do, we just abandon them. And we focus on those who want to do things. So instead of convincing actually the same department where I work, that they had to do things in a different way, I looked for the business owners, people who have been waiting for 1 to 3 years to make business. And then we said, you know what? We're going to prototype with you, we're going to test if a digital solution can actually make you a better business. We do the testing for free. We also engage the suppliers to do the prototyping for free. At the moment you have a minimum viable product, and there are lots of innovation people here, so I know you know these terms. Right? This is not going to become a class. At that moment, then of course you start charging us. But before, invest with us. So instead of inviting the VPs and the directors, for dinner and for breakfast and other things, why don't you invest doing prototypes with us? And that's what changed the dynamic. Because now I have business owners who are looking for us. And they are like, I want something, I have a possible potential business opportunity. And things are beginning to happen. So the first thing is don't focus on pushing technology. Yeah, that's what we learned. If we focus on pushing technology and trying to present things, they're already so bombarded. What they want is to have a solution. So of course we use design thinking, and we use Agile, and we use all those things, Lego. Yeah, 30 kilos. It's up here on B3 if you want to come and play with us. What's important is that you get to the point that you have a prototype very, very fast. And then this business owner who has been a master in his business for many, many years, but always has seen these ideation sessions when you come out with a list of tasks that then people have to investigate. Instead, they're coming out with a paper prototype or with a Lego prototype or a click-through. So they're already validating if their ideas is good. So methods are important. Spaces outside of the office. And then, of course, you need a team. And, well, I invited Will because there are topics that he's interested in. Will is our latest digital champion to join. Game developer. It was funny how I had to justify that I wanted a game developer in AkzoNobel. Well, I also have a data artist. I also have a digital experience designer. I have the event superhero. So these are always, yeah, they're precisely on the edge. They're not the standard type of animal that lives in a corporate zoo. And arguably, you do not need to transform a complete corporation in that, because once you have a small team, you can use external, because of course you can use people like, you know, sleep design, for example, and that, or use expertise that they fly in, they fly out, so it becomes like a pigeon house, and they work on projects very fast. Are there any questions around?
So, are there any integration points with the traditional company, or is it completely private?
No, you can't.
Yes.
In isolation, yeah. There's the famous myth of the mode 1, mode 2, you know, which to some extent is true. We have from the strategic fit, which is done with the business, so business information managers, they know what the business is looking for, so we work completely on demand. If we would have to address everything that is coming our way, is more than 100 initiatives. We can't. I have only 9 people worldwide. So we have to really scope down to very basic things. So you have to align to the strategy. In AkzoNobel, the strategy is expressed in one single phrase. We want to achieve 15% profitability by 2020. As long as you align everything to that mantra, you're aligned to the strategy and everybody will support you. Super simple, yeah? One single rule. Yeah. Next, you prototype fast. Yeah? Because, and this brings down to the value proposition that we have. Our value proposition with the company is that we want to reduce the time and the cost it takes to assess the feasibility of digital solutions by a factor of 10. So before it took 10 months to have a project charter or a project brief, now it takes roughly less than a month to actually have a prototype. So
and then would you
that's
own
pretty
the
cool.
value proposition?
And then we kill it. Huh?
Okay, do you own the value proposition, or it transfers to the business?
That's our value proposition
Okay.
towards the company. Yeah. So we reduce by a factor of 10, cost and time. And when you have people who come to you and they've been waiting 2 years to try to start a project for a new product or for a new market, I can't disclose too much content, but I have a business owner who has been waiting for 1.5 years to address a market segment which has 10 million customers. And now, after 3 months, he's ready to roll out.
How do you prioritise those business owners? So if you say you have a queue of them,
Yeah,
almost from day one.
strategy.
Yeah.
15 by 20. 15% profitability by 2020. Does it fit that? If not, please come another day.
Do you use cost of delay at all? Cost of delay in terms of
For in the background, especially with the innovation department, because we team up with the incubator, and that answers is the next part that answers the same questions that you had. Because after prototyping, once you get to minimum viable product, you start incubating. In incubator, we team up with research, development, and innovation, which is a big group, and that's our next big partner. And they, of course, they use decision trees, they use a scenario simulation and all that to see if you need to delay, if you need to fast forward and all that, but that's already way ahead. So that's their project. We are the mechanics, we do only the part inside. So arguably we only work on a work package inside of their business model canvas. Yeah? At the end of the incubation, once you scrum it and you improve it, and once you had a few customers who were willing to already pay for it, and then you want to scale, that's when it's ready to pass it to the department of that lady that is sitting back there, which is our digital marketing and e-commerce, and then they have the front end, which addresses the market. So it is a chain of 3 stages. And at the same time, we have to build the services that will support.
Yeah, I work at PostNL, the innovation department, but we have the issue always that we don't have we need a product owner from the business in order, just right from the start, at innovation projects. Otherwise, there's nobody from the business who's going to sponsor that. How does that work with you guys?
I have the same problem. I have the same problem. I'm beginning to have product owners when we are training them.
Okay.
In some cases it has worked well, but I've had also the experience of somebody who said, all right, now you want me to work in it? Well, it's your business, dude. Who's gonna work in it? Because what happens, especially in big companies, people at my level, they are used to just sit and wait for the supplier to deliver a result.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give the budget, they authorize a PO, but they are not used anymore to work. And that's a change in mentality. And I don't have a solution for that. Some are very good, they embrace it immediately. The others, I just abandon them because you're not going to waste your time. I have a small team, and digital innovation is a nice to have, it's not a must have. Right? So if I don't focus in projects that really can bring new value and capture that value immediately for the business within 6 months, not within 3 years or 5 years, I better close up shop. Which anyway is part of the plan. After 5 years, we're going to close up shop. Because during the first 2 years, we built up the capabilities. Then in the 3rd year, we propagate geographically. We're already looking at places, UK, Shanghai, other places, Sao Paulo, where we can build up, depending where the market is requesting things. Customer at the middle, in the center, design thinking is super important. Bringing the people back from the problem into the reality. The team, super diverse, not only in gender, also in disciplines, what they have studied, what are the functions, and whenever there is a little bit of stability, whenever there is a little bit of comfort zone, just introduce something that just disrupts it, because they keep being creative. And for those who are thinking about having these type of teams, be very patient, because you are going to suffer from the same thing. It's fun to see, oh, I have a lab, and then I introduce a new bug in the zoo, and then I see what happens. Now, it's not like an aquarium where you have a new fish inside. You are also one fish. and then you have interesting things. yeah, it's funny things that happen, because you find yourself being part of the flow. That's probably the most fun part.
How do you manage the failure of this project? I mean,
There's no failure.
no failure.
There's no failure, it's just experiments.
Yeah.
So we removed it from the dictionary.
Okay, so you decide that the experiment has given you a lot of learning, but you are not continuing on that stream.
Yeah, but you have to kill it very soon.
Yeah. So you
Super
decided.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, different terms. Let's not discuss about the terms, but
Yeah.
you kill them as soon as you discover that.
Yeah, or you put them on hold. There are beautiful ideas. I mean, I love the story about the washing machine, and then of course, after some time, the market is ready, the materials are available, and there is the possibility to actually build it in a way that works, because that's exactly what happens many times, right? The ideas are ahead of their time. So, in 2009, when we started talking about augmented reality, it was, some programmers didn't even understand what we were talking about. And then now it's a mainstream thing, almost, right? So what you want to talk about. So that happens. So many times either the market is not ready, the conditions are not ready, it's too expensive, and then you just put it on hold, you stack it. Hi.
So how important is communicating back to the business what it is that you're doing? Is that something that is part of your team's remit, or?
We're working on it.
Okay.
We are not very good at that.
Okay.
We are not very good at, as probably because we haven't learned. But we are learning. So actually we are going through a process now, and that's why we are recording.
Yeah.
We are recording every time we speak, every time we present something. We are collecting the media, and we are building our storyline. I mean, we started in the Q4 of 2017 from scratch. That means that right now we finally have something that we can tell about, that we can talk about. There's something happening. The first sprint, because also our strategy is in sprint. The first sprint in the Q4 2017 was just the soft methods. We started onboarding projects and prototyping in February this year for the second sprint, which is in 2018. So what we expect that we can capture the first value in Q3 this year, if possible. Yeah, there are 7 projects in the pipeline. So it's really the beginning. And that's also nice because it brings a certain energy. But no, and we are very shy in showing stuff. So that's why there are no slides. Yeah, it's a deliberate choice. Yeah, but you're all invited to pass by and visit us. We are in the B3 building on the 5th floor, and then you will not see any technology unless we are working on. So sometimes it's full of stuff. Other times it's just drawing boards and or Lego tables. And depending on what is happening, it's a space that takes the shape and has the tools that are needed depending on the challenge that we are addressing in the time. And challenges can be for anything from 1 day to 3-4 weeks. Then they go back into the business. So people come, they work with us. We get them into prototyping, into thinking in agile. They go back into the business and they start infecting the business with the new way of working. The ultimate goal is that through 3, 4, 5 years, we have enough propagation and enough success from the business, because it's not our success. Our KPIs is just net promoter score. Yeah? Besides, we want to put KPIs on the product and not on the process, but that's another story. So by the business being successful, then the buy-in happens itself, and hopefully the company at some moment can flip into a more agile company. We don't know if it is going to be successful.
So you try to infect the company with your...
So that's
Yeah.
communication.
It's a mutation that we are looking for. Yeah.
So would you say that that's also the capability transfer part?
Yeah, they learn while doing. They learn while doing, and we have a complete educational program that is being built now, including some type of social media platform for social learning. So if somebody's experimenting with something, like the guy that was experimenting with the blockchain, we made a meetup and then we invited people from HR and marketing and everywhere else, and we have our own droplets, 100 million of them. They have absolutely no value. But now we can have a QR code under a can of paint, and if it is sold in India and somebody scans the QR code and doesn't get a droplet, it means that the can of paint is a counterfeit. Okay? It has been filled up with something else, which sadly it happens in some places. We spent 20K in the prototype and we can use it anywhere. It was done in 4 days. Very different from the typical corporate things that you need 2 million and 2 years to discover what are the 2 key functions that you want from blockchain, which we all know what they are, right? And they are public. But Ericsson and IBM just did it. They announced it in February. Now they will go forward with implementing those 2 functions after 2 years of thinking. Yeah, I'm sorry for being sarcastic, but okay. I think I'm getting over on time, huh?
Oh no, it's okay.
You're good.
Cool.
Yeah, but maybe last question.
Yeah, you're mentioning that sometimes projects take a couple of weeks and sometimes they take longer. Do you plan on how long a project is going to take?
No.
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 You don't
It's,
time
it's
box
all
it.
agile, and you try to have sprints as short as possible and address one thing.
Yeah.
Each time you address one thing that is either a technical feature that is needed or something that your customer is really interested in.
Yeah.
Because that's the combination. Once you have a functionality, because the minimum viable product must include a minimum marketable feature. That's the key. Otherwise, you will not have anybody who's willing to pay for it.
But you don't time box it in advance.
As short as possible.
Okay.
No more than 3 weeks a sprint. But some go ahead up to 8 weeks. Yeah. So sometimes it's a little bit more complex. We've had things that in 1 week we have a prototype. And it just works. But those are not bringing money. The ones that are bringing money are the ones that have 1, 2, 3 sprints, and then they really get, okay, somebody's willing to pay, and then you start using it. Yeah. But what is beautiful, because it's a paint factory, right? It's a company that makes paint and coatings. What is beautiful is that the new business models that the incubator group is proposing are not based anymore on selling paint and coatings. They are based in selling knowledge. So we are beginning to gain and to learn, because we're just learning as a company, to learn how to profit from the digital package on top of the product. Which sometimes is bigger, because we have some areas of the business that have data since 70 years ago. There's so much knowledge there. Right? If you start selling that now, instead of the salesman knowing what to advise to the customer to buy, if you make it just public and the customer can just access the system on a subscription base or whatever, it's basically hiring consultancy from you in an electronic form, it can be robotized or whatever, you might end up making money even if they buy somebody else's product, because what they're buying from you is knowledge. So that's the flip that is beginning to happen. So it's very promising. Maybe in 2 years I'm back here and I can tell some success stories, because now everything is in the making.
Well, what's the business model in this case? I mean, are you able to sell that knowledge and put a price tag on it, or is it just advisory in the hope that they end up buying your product?
It is a subscription-based.
Okay.
Subscription-based. I can't disclose too much, but it's for large pieces of machinery
Right.
that need a certain type of protection, coatings, and they have a corrosion level, it wears out,
Yeah.
so you want to help the customer in predicting when they will need and what do they need then. It has complexities such as the weather and other things because of where these devices are used. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's quite expensive equipment.
Well,
Yeah, large industrial stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, where are you from?
Rabobank.
Okay, so you probably know those type of customers that we are talking about. Yeah, but I can't disclose. Okay, well, so this is...
Yeah, just to add to your dilemma and your question from PostNL in terms of getting budget and time on things where business ownership is not there or lukewarm. We preach internally the McKinsey Three Horizons of Innovation model.
Oh, which is not from McKinsey, by the way.
Well,
I hate McKinsey with all my heart.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, and this is, I have it recorded. Yeah. And I hate when after 10 years that we've been talking about the simple guiding principles, then Deloitte is announcing it like 6 months ago, is beginning to talk about simple guiding principles to developers. So the last ones to say it are getting the money.
I'm not saying it to give McKinsey any credit for it, but the model is very simple and helps you internally to organize who's doing what on innovation management. So,
Right?
So
I'm addressing the second horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But still
precisely.
but still with business ownership.
Still with business ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so I have a pull instead of a push,
Yeah.
and then it's easier to get the money.
Yeah.
Because
we
they have the
put
money.
separate money, separate teams in place to hit the second horizon. The first horizon is the innovation for product.
Yeah, first horizon is incremental only.
Yeah.
Yeah. To address the third horizon, what we are looking at is if we can create a ring-fenced type of budget that we can use for experimentation only.
Right.
But that's the next thing.
Yeah.
So first we said, okay, the second horizon is easier because it's technology that already exists, but we are not using yet.
Yeah.
And then we can introduce, demystified digital.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I have the original blog post of like 7 years ago from the Three Horizon model. Somewhere I can forward it.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, because and it's pretty simple. It's a very simple model, and luckily it is being adopted now everywhere. It simplifies a lot how you plan for things and how you can explain, because each one you have a different governance depending how you want to do, and it's the only model that explains how disruptive innovation happens. By bringing the future into the present, then you have the opportunity to make it cheaper.
And who's the original author?
I forgot the name. Yeah, Teflon coated, the brain. So, but it will come back up because I'm sure it's in my library. Yeah, I'm sure it's in my library because we applied it at CERN a few years ago. CERN is really looking into third and even ahead. Yeah, I mean we were talking about things that are science fiction still.
Crazy.
Yeah, like you can have a tattoo that takes the energy from your skin and it becomes your personal information device. Yeah, things like that.
It's almost there.
Yeah, we're getting closer. We are 20 years, I think. Yeah, we can. Yeah, so that's also nice. I guess we're out of time.
Yeah, one final question from me. Would you see it as a success for the program that you're running, that at the end of your tenure, that you have that experimental budget set aside for? Is that like how it would be deemed a success the last few years for you? That you have that experimental budget that you just mentioned.
No, my success is the success of the business. If the business is making more money and they work better and they have less cost, in other words, if the company is more successful, I'm successful. I don't care about the spotlight. That's also why I'm not using slides. And usually in our events, in our meetups and all that, I invite the business people to come and tell the stories because it's much more powerful. So the success of my customers is my success. And that's what we are trying to instill in our team. Super important. The KPIs are on product and not on process. So I don't have a budget. The budget comes entirely from the business. The space in B3 is fitted mostly with recycled stuff from the warehouses of the company. And the rest are, a bunch of Lego. And we make paints and coatings. So we do have the luxury of having like beautiful walls that we can write on them, they're magnetic, and we can project on them. So the whole space becomes a canvas. And that's good.
Who started what you're doing?
Me?
So you just went to ExxonMobil,
No.
I want to start this?
No. The leadership of ExxonMobil had this idea since 2016. And they actually described they wanted something on the edge of the business. And they started scouting. I was the first one building this space. But the digital journey of the company started earlier, started like 1.5 or 2 years earlier on the marketing side. Because we know that traditionally it's easier to enter digital from the point of view of websites. Yeah, it's a little bit of an older technology, you know. It's 1995, yeah, Pizza Hut did the first web shop. We are making web shops. We have hundreds of them. Yeah, we have more than 1,000 websites with 6,000 domain names. And we still consider it an incubator. Well, sadly it's true. But now we are changing it into really a service organization. Yeah, and that's the last part. First you prototyping, you do incubation, then it has to become a service that anybody can use. And instead of being projects, they become service requests. Yeah. So, it's getting there. Getting
Do
there.
you have any, maybe last one, sorry, do you have any back-end improvement projects as well to support this transformation?
We are the pilot for cloud solutions, for big data, for Internet of Things, for all the famous technologies that we hear about. We are the pilot. So right now, for example, we have a sandbox directly from Microsoft, and we are getting a sandbox on SAP, where we can use the systems freely until they become a minimum viable product, of course, and that helps a lot. So we can get a server up in 20 minutes, compared to the 2 or 3 months that it used to be in the standard corporate way. Yeah. But you need to team up with the suppliers. You need to have like a big ecosystem. It's impossible that you have all the resources in-house. You need the help. Yeah. That completes the value chain, precisely, and then it's a service lifecycle management. Yeah. Feel free to connect. I'm not trying to cut it off. I'm just afraid of the time because.
No, we're good. Yeah, we have one more speaker, so we.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Feel free to connect. We are nearby, walking distance, and yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.